Hey everybody, welcome back. Thank you for clicking this video and welcome to episode 1 of my series, So You Want to Host a Group Cruise. And today's episode is all about the beginning. Where do I begin? What am I supposed to do now that I have decided I want to host a group cruise? Let's figure out what we're going to do. Okay, so honestly, the first thing is probably the most simple thing, and that is to have a plan. Because I think there's a famous quote, something about a failure to plan is a plan to fail, something like that. So I think at first you should have a plan. Get something that you can keep everything together in. I love to have a notebook. Something that you can write all of your ideas down, somewhere you can keep track of everything, put everything into categories. You can also do this like with an Excel spreadsheet or Google Documents or something like that. But I think it's always best to have a on-hand backup because, sometimes technology fails us. We might type for 20 minutes and then forget to hit save or something. So I'm old fashioned. I want paper, I want a pen in my hand, and I want to write down literally everything, sort of have an idea of what you want. So that way, when it's time to start implementing everything, you already know, I can put this in the category of transportation or hotels, activities, things like that. It's just a great way to keep track of everything. Another planning that I believe is really important is to have lists, not lists, charts to keep track. Because as the planner, you might be needing to keep, well, you do need to keep track of everything, but this little format right here is literally what I use for everything. If I'm organizing a slot pool, if I'm taking t-shirt orders or whatever, have a chart. What's their name? What's this for? Did they pay you or did they confirm? Did they not? Something just to keep track. So I would say the number one important thing at the beginning is to have some sort of planner, organizer, something that you can keep everything in. These can be found dollar store or your local Staples or whatever, but something with pockets is always a wonderful idea. Okay, so now you got your planner, you got your ideas. The first thing after that you want to do is decide when you want to go and which company, which ship you want to do. The number one rule to remember is that you can't please everybody. So, you can kind of get feelers out in the beginning. If you know like who you think you want to invite. So if it's your family, you're going to do a family reunion. Do you do it the same time every year? Or do y'all go somewhere different every year? So if it's something like that, maybe if you have a family group chat or something, you can say, okay, we're going to go on a cruise. When you want to go? Do a poll. When you want to go? Where you want to go? That type of thing. But in general, it's honestly just going to really come down to you, basically, because you have to decide, and people will either go or they won't go. You have to be comfortable with people saying, no, I don't want to do that ship. No, I don't want to go to those ports, or I can't travel in February. I can't go anywhere in November. So, you have to decide, what do you think? Try to keep your group in mind, but at the same time, you have to make a decision, just pull the plug and make a decision. I think like some people, especially with cruising, summertime is a big cruise time, summertime and like spring break. But that might be the time it might get more people because kids are out of school, so people want to take their families. Summertime is great for teachers because they're off. You know what I mean? Where then you have, August to November where it's like it's a little bit cheaper, but then you run into hurricane season, so there's a chance that you could get canceled or you could get stuck on board. You just got to really think of everything. But at the end of the day, you still have to decide. And then you have to decide how long do you want it. And then that again goes for what you feel is best for the type of people that you want to go with you. You know, and then it depends on your itinerary. If you want to go, you know, which ports you want to go from. Like, kind of put all of that into perspective before you decide. Sometimes it's easier for people to fly into a neutral port like Florida because they have so many different ports to choose from. Whereas, you know, if you think most of the people that are gonna go are on the East Coast, you know, do you want to book a cruise on the West Coast? Are people gonna go? Or, you know, do you want to book a cruise from New York where, you know, you might want to go a northern cruise where it might be cold or something like that. So think about that. And then of your ports, like possibly the Port of Baltimore, where normally their cruises are 7 days from Baltimore, sometimes 5 days, but usually it's a 7-day itinerary. So you think about stuff like that. And then you decide which cruise line you want to go with and then which ship. And that too is just a preference of what you think might be best. I can tell you from my experience or how I like to do it. I like to find itineraries typically 4 to 5 days just because I want to be respectful of people's time. I want to be respectful of my time. If I'm hosting, I don't want to be working for 7 days. You know what I mean? Or I want to keep it cost effective if I know that there's people that might want to bring their entire family and you don't want it to be too expensive. So you have to think about all those things. But no matter what, if people want to go, they're going to go no matter what. So that's what it all boils down to. Some people like to do the newer ships because a lot of people want to see the newer ships. So you just have to really think. And that's another thing. If you are knowing in general the type of people you want to invite, like your family and friends, throw it out there. You know, do y'all want to go on this ship or do you want to go on this ship? Or, you know, do you prefer Carnival or Norwegian, or should we try Princess Cruise Line, that type of thing. So really just think about that. Okay, so you got your date, you got your ship. Now you need to figure out who's going to handle all of this. If you are a travel agent, then of course you can be the one to be in charge of bookings and everybody that's going to be going. If you are not a travel agent, then you have two options. You can find someone to be your designated group travel agent. And I will say that if that's the road that you choose, make sure it's somebody that is going to be prepared for a lot of work. Somebody that's going to have your people calling them, texting them, or emailing them. Somebody that, you know, will get back to your people in a respectful amount of time. Somebody that's going to be ready to take payments if people are on payment plans and things like that. So just make sure it's someone that's not going to ghost you and somebody that's not going to ghost your group, because, you know, once you're in a group setting and then you have an issue with your booking, the cruise lines aren't going to communicate with you because it was booked through a third party. So you need to find somebody that is going to listen to what somebody is saying and then communicate with the cruise line to, you know, correct whatever issue they may have. So that's important when choosing a travel agent for a group, because it's potentially going to be a lot of people contacting them, and you want somebody that's personable, you want somebody that's professional, and somebody that's going to listen to what it is that you want and then be there to offer that assistance. Another option you could do is just go through the cruise line and set up a group booking that way. And then everyone that books in your group will just deal with the cruise line. You know, they'll call in and say, I want to join Mary's group. And then tell them the type of cabin they want and things like that. And then all their payments and everything will just go directly to the cruise line. So those are the options that you can have for that. Or you can also just have people book, on their own. But that comes with its own, stipulations and issues. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But that's what you want to think about when you're getting started. Like, who's going to be the one to take all these bookings once it gets started. And if you are going to be the agent, then, just making sure that you are keeping track of everyone and everything, all in the midst of keeping track of everything else. You know what I'm saying? So just think what is best for you as far as once everybody says, yes, I want to go, now we're ready to book. Another thing you want to decide on is if you want people to book within your group and your group only. So a lot of people are travel agents, or people have deals that they have with certain cruise lines, or some people just prefer to manage their own money. They don't want to give their money to someone else. So you can decide, okay, you have to book within the group to be a part of the group. Or you can choose to say, you know what, you don't have to book with our group agent. You can book on your own, as long as people know the consequences of that. Because when you have a group booking, there will be certain perks that the cruise lines give you. And if they book outside of this group bubble, the cruise line might not recognize that they're with you. Now, you might let them be part of whatever activities you're going to do, but if there's certain onboard credits or onboard parties, specialized dining times, things like that, if they don't book in the bubble, they won't get included in those special items. So you need to be very specific with people and let them know, if you want to book on your own, that's fine. You just might not be able to partake in all of the perks. And that's something that, you tell them from the beginning, so there's no confusion. So that way, when the time comes and they can't do these things, it's not on you anymore, because you told them from the beginning. Certain things are out of your control if it's with the cruise line and the policies that they have around their group bookings. You're more than welcome to tell people, well, we're going to hang out at 5 o'clock every day right here. Of course, come in. But, we have a 7 o'clock dinner time. But because you didn't book in the group, they're not going to put you at our table. And that's just something that people will have to be okay with. But just make sure you're telling people everything at the beginning, so there's no surprises for them in the end. Okay, so got all that situated. We know when we're going, we know how we're going, we got the person ready to take our money. And I think the next and last part of this, where do I begin, will be to make your announcement. You want to make sure you give people enough time, because you don't want people scrambling to decide whether or not they can go. So if you know that you want to do something in 2024, try to give people at least 9 months to a year, just so they have time to, check with their immediate family. Do we have any plans this month and that year? They need to check with their job to make sure nobody else in their department or whatever might be taking off around that same time. Not to mention, people need time in general to pay for it. We have to be mindful that everybody doesn't have the same economic status. So whereas one person can say, I want to pay in full right now, the next person needs to make payments every few months to bring their bill down. So make sure you give people enough time to where they can say, okay, let me check my calendar, let me check my work schedule, let me check the kids' school calendar. There's a lot of little entities that go with something that big, so make sure you give them enough time. Okay, so those are my tips for getting started with hosting a group cruise. I hope this was helpful to you in any way. If it was, please give this video a thumbs up. If you are not subscribed, hit that subscribe button on your way out and be on the lookout for episode 2. Bye.